voice can break the dark. A single spark ignites the heart. But if we turn when justice calls, the chains we forge will bind us all. When truth is silence, when lies take hold, the cost is freedom, the soul grows cold. No one stands tall while another must fall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all. We're mavericks of freedom, rebels in the fight, defending every voice, defending every right. For the moment we falter, the moment we stall, we lose our own freedom when we let others fall. You can't stand free while others kneel. When justice fades, it's freedom they steal. An innocent condemned, a crime unspoken, and with it the bond of liberty is broken. No tyrant rules without our consent. Oppression thrives where silence is spent. Stand for the weak, the silence is small, or freedom will crumble for us all. We're mavericks of freedom, guardians of the light, fighting for the truth, for what is just and right. For the rights of one are the rights of all. We rise or we fall by answering the call. Even those we may oppose deserve the rights we all uphold. For if we deny them what is fair, we build our own prison in despair. The fight's not easy, it never will be, but justice for one is the key to be free. We stand as mavericks, together we strive, defending the rights that keep freedom alive. We're mavericks of freedom, rebels in the fight, upholding every truth, protecting every right. When one is oppressed, we're all in the thrall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all. So take a stand, let your courage rise. Defend the truth, don't compromise. For the soul of the world, the writing's on the wall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all.
Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Welcome back to the Maverick News Channel, everyone. Great to have everybody here. We have live coverage tonight from the Pierre Poilievre Conservative election rally tonight in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Last night, huge crowd out in Edmonton at the Poilievre rally there. Some say 10,000, some say 12,000, some say 15,000. Huge crowd. For Canada, that's huge. Carney's pulling in some numbers here tonight too. I'm not sure that we're going to get to, his rally. I'm not sure if we have a feed out of there, but we do have a feed established here tonight for the Poilievre rally. So we'll certainly take you live to the scene in just a moment. And I'm just monitoring things here. I think we're just about ready to go live there now. Let's bring this up. Hang on. Yes, indeed. Here we go. Poilievre's wife, Ana is on stage now. Here we go.
Decide whether we're going to elect for a fourth time the same Liberal team that has left us with a weakened economy, rising crime, unaffordable housing, and vulnerable in the face of the threats of Donald Trump, or are we going to elect a conservative government who's going to put Canada first for a change? This journey began for my husband and my family about 3 years ago when Pierre decided to run for the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. Ever since, he has been traveling from coast to coast to coast so that he can step away from the Ottawa bubble and to hear Canadians directly. Because what we need is a leader and a government for the people and by the people. And you know, my husband has spent most of his life right here at home fighting for our youth, our families, and our seniors. Mr. Carney, he is on one hand seeking public office, and on the other hand looking down on those who have been right here at home fighting for us. Well, I am proud of my husband, and it is an honorable thing to do to be right here at home fighting for our people. And when Mr. Carney says that my husband doesn't know how the world works, well, I'll tell you what. He knows how Canada works and how to make it work for all of us, the working class, not the tax dodgers. Now, I of course love of my husband's policies. I truly really feel they will help all of us. But to understand why we're doing this, you need to know the man and the family behind all of those policies. My husband was born from a teenage mother who gave him out for adoption to two school teachers from Saskatchewan. He grew up in Calgary in a very humble house where his family was working really hard and living paycheck to paycheck. Pierre has worked for everything in this life and nothing was handed to him. Yes. I was born in Caracas, Venezuela, and my family migrated here in Canada in 1995 when I was 8 years old. We lived in a working class neighborhood in the east end of Montreal. There were 6 of us in a very small basement apartment. My father's first job was to pick up fruit and vegetables because that's all he could do. Later on, he had 3 minimum wage jobs all at once so that he could feed our family. By the time that I was 17, I had left home and become 100% financially independent. When I turned 19, I left Montreal and moved to Ottawa. I took a student loan so I can put myself through university, and I worked full-time at the same time so that I can pay rent and food. And by the time that I was 25 years old, a few months before I met Pierre, still a single woman, I had saved enough money, $25,000, to put a down payment on a little 2-bedroom townhouse in the east end of Ottawa. It cost me $230,000, that little townhouse. That was in 2012, 3 years before the Liberal government took office. That is what we're fighting for the Canadian promise that if you work hard, you get ahead and you can make it in this country. This is who we are, the Poilievres, working really hard and restoring the Canadian promise. That is why it is my pleasure to stand by my husband's side and to share him with all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, our next Prime Minister, my husband, Pierre Poilievre.
way to the stage. I'm going to pull that audio down because we have possible copyright violation there with the music as I think about it. So we'll pull that audio down until Poilievre gets to the stage. And, you know, the verbal barbs flying again today. And Poilievre being asked by a reporter today if he thinks that the large crowds are really just a sign, or something about him being caught in an echo chamber or just speaking to the already converted. But he pointed out to the reporter that a political rally the size of which we saw last night, really not common, maybe even unprecedented by any standard in Canada. 15,000, if indeed that was the size of the crowd. It was huge, but estimates vary all the way from 10,000 to 15,000. I suppose if you're a liberal, it's on the small side. If you're a conservative, it's on the larger side. Here we go.
Who's ready to vote for change? Who's ready to build some homes you can afford? Who's going to vote to stop the crime for a change? And who's going to vote for your former police chief and top crime fighter, Hugh Stevenson, for a change? Who's ready to put Canada first for a change? Oh, look at that crowd up there. Amazing. It's been a long time since we've had crowds like this in Canada. But you know what I think it is? I think, thank you, I love you. But I think it's bigger than me. It's about much more than me. It's not about me. It's about you. It's about giving you back control of your lives. I think that the reason why we've attracted these record-breaking crowds is people have hope again. People have hope. The young people have hope. That yes, the young people, like that young person over there, have hope that soon they'll be able to afford a home and start a family and have kids and give their parents some grandkids. Families have hope that their streets are going to be safe again for a change, that they'll be able to have their kids out playing street hockey without fear, or go to bed not worried that their car is going to be missing in the morning. I think that our working people, our waitresses and welders have hope again, that they will be able to afford good, decent food, that their fridge and their bank account will be full at the same time. People have hope that change is coming to Canada. And one of the things that's giving them all that hope is the amazing team of Canada First candidates that we are putting together to bring change to Canada, starting with your former police chief and future member of Parliament, Hugh Stevenson. Where's Hugh? Where is he? There he is. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you so much for serving our country and this community for 3 decades. Incredible. A man who was known for standing behind the police. The frontline officers loved him for his loyalty and his support of the community. Someone who always reached out to the less advantaged and always fought hard for the law-abiding people of this country. And he's stepping up because he believes we need a change in this country. You know, we need a big change. By the way, Hugh is promising that if any of you have jaywalking tickets, if you came to the rally tonight, it's all forgiven, okay? That's a joke, and now I've got myself in trouble with the media. But, you know, I was in the Sault about...
Oh, we lost our audio there for a moment.
All right, it's a Liberal microphone. It doesn't always work. Still, I've never met a mic I didn't like. Anyway, so we went to this diner. We had a lunch, and really nice place, and after we left, we jumped in the minivan and we were driving off to our next engagement. And the back door of the restaurant swung open, and out came a waitress. She ran right into the street where we just turned onto the street to leave, and she was jumping up and down and waving. Apparently, she had missed us when we were there, but then heard that, in the back of the kitchen that I had been there. And she ran out, and I thought, oh, did we forget to pay the bill or something? Are we in trouble? So we pulled the minivan over the side of the road. I jumped out, and I said, how can I help you? And she walked up, and she said, fix it. That's it. Just fix it. And she didn't even need to tell me what it was, because everybody knows what it is, right? It's all of it. It's all of it. It's the whole mess. The whole mess. The whole mess. A waitress 10 years ago could afford to buy a home with her husband and start a family. Now, that's impossible. We have the most expensive real estate in the world. It's doubled under the lost Liberal decade. Crime and chaos reign in our once safe streets as repeat violent offenders are everywhere and released within seconds of their latest arrest. Food prices have risen 37% faster in Canada than in the United States during the last 5 years because of carbon taxes Liberals imposed and are temporarily hiding that drove up the cost for the farmers and truckers who bring us our food. The things that we need to fix, it's everything. But we know that we will not fix it by rehiring for a fourth time the same Liberals who broke it in the first place. And we sure won't fix it with someone who won't pay his taxes. Yep. Today, this is breaking news. Mark Carney was asked point blank if, as Prime Minister of Canada, he would condemn tax havens, international tax havens in the Caribbean, where multinational corporations stash their cash.
That's what I told you the question needs to be. That's the question.
For the first time in the history of Canada, a Prime Minister was unwilling to condemn these international tax havens for multinationals and billionaires. Just today, he dodged the question just like he dodged his taxes. And you know why? Because he's in a conflict of interest. He has billions of dollars of his company assets stashed away in Bermuda in a post office box above a bicycle shop. You know, he didn't put the money there because it's nice weather in Bermuda. He put it there because Bermuda is known as the most flagrant tax haven anywhere on earth. And his company has been called Canada's biggest tax dodger. Now, that would be a terrible thing for him to have in his past, but it's not the past. It's the present. He continues to have millions of dollars invested in this company, which is hiding its money away from paying taxes. So let's get this straight. While the police officers here in the Soo, or that waitress who's struggling to feed her kids, or the small businesses that are hanging on by a thread, are forced to pay high Liberal taxes, Mark Carney, our Prime Minister, is still invested in tax havens that dodge his bill. My friends, that is not putting Canada first. That is not the change we need. We need a new Conservative government that will put our taxpayers first for a change. Aujourd'hui, M. Carney a refusé de répondre à une question s'il condamnait les paradis fiscaux. C'est la première fois dans l'histoire du Canada qu'un premier ministre a refusé de condamner des paradis fiscaux. Et pourquoi? Parce qu'il a des millions de dollars de conflits d'intérêts.
So I kept highlighting that, and the media
Ses actifs
was
permutent
missing the
dans
mark
une boîte
on the whole issue.
postale
But now finally
sur
today that
un
question was
magasin
leveled.
de
That's
vélo.
what he needs to be
Donc,
asked.
lorsque
Was
la
asked today.
serveuse ou
Carney.
le policier, le barbier, le plombier doivent payer leurs taxes et les impôts libéraux aujourd'hui, Monsieur Carney, notre Premier
I guess
ministre,
I have to
ne
go back
paie
on
pas
the road
son
to
juste
show them how
part.
it's done.
Ce n'est pas ça, mettre le Canada d'abord. Nous avons besoin d'un Premier ministre qui va
Maybe tomorrow.
défendre nos contribuables, notre monde et notre pays. Donc, le choix dans ces élections, après les décennies perdues des libéraux,
My apologies to our
les prix ont augmenté et
US
l'économie est tombée
viewers.
sur la
It's
dépendance
Canada,
des
so you
Américains.
get a bilingual
Est-ce qu'on veut leur donner un quatrième mandat
rally.
ou est-ce qu'il faut
What are
que
we
ça
hearing here
change
so far
avec
tonight,
un
though?
nouveau gouvernement
Hope.
conservateur qui va
And I would
couper
say the
taxes et
message is
impôts,
very
bâtir des
Trumpian,
logements abordables,
MAGA style.
exploiter nos
Why?
ressources
Because
et
he's
ramener
saying
nos emplois pour pouvoir confronter
people have
les
hope that they'll
Américains
be able
avec la
to
force pour un
afford a house
changement.
again.
C'est ça ce qu'il faut faire.
That the streets will be safe again. Right in the same vein
My
as
friends, the
this is
choice
like
in
make
this
Canada
election,
great again. Same
after the
idea.
lost Liberal decade of rising prices and rising crime, and an economy falling under the dependence of the Americans, do we want to give them a fourth?
Oh, the liberal microphone. I'm just going to make a joke again.
After a decade of rising costs and crime and a falling economy under America's thumb, do we want to give the Liberals a fourth term? Is it time for a new Conservative government that will put Canada first for a change?
And the Canada First message, very much like America First.
Let's just quickly review the problems. Today in Canada, inflation is back on the rise. Inflation, having hit 40-year highs, is now up again. Canada has the worst housing prices, the slowest building permits. Our economy is smaller than it was 10 years ago on a per capita basis. In fact, it's the worst economic growth of any country in the G7 by far. $500 billion of investment has left our country as Liberals raise taxes and block our resource projects, making us more vulnerable and dependent than ever before. It's really no wonder why Donald Trump says he wants the Liberals in power for a fourth term. He wants to keep Canada weak so that he can exploit that weakness. Well, I've got news for President Trump. You don't get to choose our next Prime Minister. Canadians do, and they're going to vote for a change. And it's not going to solve the problem to elect the same Liberal MPs, Liberal ministers, the same Liberal strategists with the same Liberal policies to get the same Liberal results. What we need is to bring a real change to this country, and that is what we are going to do. We need strong leadership from people who have put our country first and who have a real economic plan to do it. And so tonight I'm going to tell you about that plan. It's a plan to bring home our economic strength for a change. It starts with you bringing home more of your paycheck. You agree with that? For a change. Anybody here paying too little income tax right now? None of you guys have your money. That's right. Mr. Carney is. That's true. Any of you got a post office box with your money saved up in a Bermuda post office somewhere? No, no one here like that. No, here in this room, I see hardworking people. Do we have any waitresses? Any welders? Any tradespeople? Yeah. Small business owners? Soldiers? Sailors? Air Force members? You're a soldier? But we got a veteran over here. All these hardworking people, thank you very much for your service. Give them a big round of applause. But all of you are paying a fine for the crime of hard work. It's called income tax. You earn more, you pay more. We punish hard work in this country with among the highest taxes in the world. In fact, Canadians today pay more in income tax and other taxes than they spend on food, clothing, and shelter combined. Income taxes sales taxes, carbon taxes, gas taxes, business taxes, property taxes. The list goes on, a tax on a tax on a tax on a tax. And if that's not enough to drive you to drink, well, they're taxing your liquor and your booze too. So we're going to make work pay again. A Canada First Conservative government will cut income tax for the average senior and worker by 15%. So you keep your money for a change. And we're going to reward those who create jobs and save jobs for our Canadian auto workers. We will axe the sales tax on Canadian-made automobiles. And then there's the carbon tax. This is an area where the Liberals have really tried to pull a fast one. By the way, look at that beautiful sign back there. That beautiful axe the tax. Isn't that great? Way to go. I think he's a lumberjack. We've got a lumberjack over there. So when we do the axing of the taxes, we're going to bring this guy to Parliament Hill to help us. So the Liberals brought in the carbon tax for the last 7 years. 7 years, and they put the law, it's still in place, that allows them to raise the tax up to 61 cents a litre in their next term in office. Now, 28 days before the election, they hide the tax from the pumps in the hopes that they will fool Canadians into electing them a fourth time, after which they'll simply put the tax back on, this time with no rebate at all, and make it higher than ever before. Mark Carney said his only disagreement with Trudeau's carbon tax is that it was not high enough. He says that he wants the tax to go higher on Canadian steel. What would that mean? He actually said that Canadians don't use steel anymore, so you won't have to pay his tax. This building would actually come crashing down if there were no steel. Anybody here work for Algoma? Right on, our Algoma steelworkers. I'll tell you something, if this Liberal industrial carbon tax is allowed to go ahead, there will be no Algoma, there will be no Stelco, there will be no DeFasco, there will be no Gordeau. The Canadian steel-making companies simply will not be able to compete with American and Chinese steelmakers who have no carbon tax at all. Both Trump and Carney want to tax Canadian steel, one with tariffs and the other with carbon taxes. I want neither. My plan is to axe the tax for everything, for everyone, for good, for real, forever, for a change. Axe the tax. We're going to be axing a lot of taxes. We're also going to axe the inflation tax. Now, we know what the inflation tax is. It's when government prints money in order to pay for out-of-control spending. Now, it's a tax because you still pay for it, and it's meant to give government dollars to spend. And here's how it operates. Instead of holding a vote in the House of Commons to raise the HST or GST, what they do is they just run these enormous deficits and have the central bank create more cash. Now that sounds like a lot of fun. You know, if you're running out of money, why not just make more? Here's the problem with that. Every single time it's been done over roughly 4,000 years of economic history, it's had exactly the same result. More money bidding on the same or fewer goods always equals higher prices. If you have an economy with, say, $10 and 10 apples, well, in that economy, it'll be $1 an apple. If you double the number of dollars to 20, but you still have only 10 apples, well, you're not twice as rich. It's just each apple now costs twice as much. And the people who get that extra printed money, well, they're better off. Well, who are they? Not you. The people who get the money are the senior bureaucracy and the top connected people in the financial system. Brookfield's CEO, this is Carney's company, bragged that inflation was actually good for their company. It meant that they could charge more rent on their apartments. It meant their assets inflated in value. At the same time, as all of you see the purchasing power of your paycheck and pension evaporate. That is the inflation tax. It is only the symptom. The disease is over government spending. Government spending has almost doubled in the last 10 years of the Liberal government. They have doubled the national debt, adding more debt than all prior governments combined. And most of this debt was added while Mark Carney was acting as Justin Trudeau's economic advisor, since which time Carney has made literally billions of dollars of additional spending promises that he intends to stack on top of what Trudeau already did. I will do the opposite. We will cut back on bureaucracy, consultants, handouts to corporate insiders, and foreign aid to dictators, terrorists, and global bureaucracies to bring down the cost of government and axe the inflation tax for real, for a change. Thank you. I love you too. Thank you very much. Who's this young lady over here? Georgia. Excellent. Are you old enough to vote? Oh, that's too bad. You can't. Well, it's too. You can't get her an ID or anything, eh, Chief? No, I guess. Sorry. Again, I'm going to get more trouble with the media for suggesting these things. But you know what? We're all voting for your future, Georgia. Thank you. God love you. We're proud of you. We want Georgia to be able to afford a place to live, don't we? A nice house on a safe street. We used to take that for granted in Canada. People would be able to buy a house by the time they were in their mid-20s. My wife told, I don't know if she told the story tonight, she was in her mid-20s and she was able to get a nice little place, a townhouse in Ottawa. That was back about 11 years ago, 12 years ago, 2012. Not long ago, this was something we all took for granted. But housing costs have doubled over the last Liberal decade. And we know that we cannot trust the Liberals to reverse the damage they have done. Now, why is housing so expensive today? Well, it's because of government. We have the second slowest building permits in the OECD. It takes 3 times as long to get that permit in Canada as it does to get it in the UK and in the US. As much as 60% of the cost of a new home in Canada today is government costs. Taxes, red tape, lawyers, accountants, consultants, lobbyists, and others. Right now, more money from a new home goes to bureaucrats in office buildings than goes to the carpenters, electricians, and plumbers who actually build the homes. I learned this tragic injustice when I was in the Sault about 1.5 years ago. I was at a Tim Hortons, and a young guy about 30 years old came and sat down in front of me, and he told me that he was living in his car. He was a carpenter with a job. My friends, when the people who build our homes cannot afford to live in them, we have a fundamentally unjust economy, and that must change.
Interesting to hear a conservative talking about economic justice.
And it will change, because we have a common sense plan to bring that change, starting with axing the federal sales tax on new homes to save you up to $65,000. We will incentivize municipalities to speed up permits, free up land, and cut development taxes to build 15% more homes per year. We'll sell off 6,000 federal buildings and thousands of acres of federal land to build, and we will train up 350,000 young building trades workers, the carpenters, electricians, and plumbers who will build the homes. Boots, not suits. We're going to give back the $4,000 apprenticeship grant to help our young people with the cost of getting started on an apprenticeship. Is that a proud mother over there? I saw you give a fist bump. Are you a small business owner? What do you do? Decks. Anybody need a deck? Your husband does. He builds decks. All right, there he is. Give him a round of applause. I've got an apprenticeship myself right now. I'm apprenticing to be a cabinet maker, but it's okay. It was a dad joke. It was not that bad. Come on. I'm here all night, folks. But you're right. You need more apprentices. You need more skilled trades, right? So I'll tell you what else we're going to do. We're going to bring tax fairness. Because right now a CEO can write off the full cost of his private jet, but a tradesman can only write off $4,000 for the whole year. Some of these guys do 20 trips a year to go from the Soo to Timmins to a gold mine. They might then go off to Fort Mac or out east to the offshore. That costs tens of thousands of dollars. We're going to pass the Tax Fairness for Traveling Trades Workers Act so that you can write off the full cost of food, transportation, and accommodation. Bring home a paycheck. And I'm going to be giving a big, beautiful present to every high school principal. It's going to be a box about the size of this stage, and in it is going to be a module for every licensed trade on how they can start our 14 and 15-year-olds off doing pre-apprenticeships and even getting some of their Red Seal apprenticeship hours before they graduate from school. We're also going to make sure that our armed forces is providing the trades in the forces with the same kinds of materials so that they can knock off hours, and when they decide to retire from their job defending the country, they can quickly get Red Seal licenses to go on building the country. That's how we're going to get the boots and not suits. And we are going to build these incredible homes across this country and restore the dream of home ownership. We cannot afford another 4 years of the Liberals hiking housing costs. We need a change so that our young people can have homes to raise families in. And we're going to bring home our resource jobs again for a change, aren't we? For the last 10 years, anti-development laws passed by the Liberals have shut out our energy sector, made us more reliant on the Americans than ever before, favored foreign producers of fossil fuels. They have no problem with Venezuela, Saudi Arabia, the United States and others producing more and more energy. Meanwhile, they shut down our workers here in Canada. When I'm Prime Minister, that will end. We will repeal the Liberal No Development Law C-69. We will get rid of the energy cap to unleash massive production increases of oil and gas and countless other minerals. We will get rid of the industrial carbon tax. We will also bring in shovel-ready zones, areas that are pre-permitted for production. We will draw a big line, a big circle on a map, and say everything in this or that zone is pre-authorized for mines, pipelines, data centers, power stations, nuclear plants, LNG liquefaction terminals, and more. We'll do all the environmental studies up front, get the bureaucracy settled and out of the way, and then look over at our investors and our workers and say, this site is pre-approved, there's no more waiting, no more paperwork, put the shovel in the ground and let's get building this country. We're going to build Canadian pipelines with Canadian steel to deliver Canadian energy to Canadian customers and to the world. We'll go around the Americans and bring our jobs back to our people, building an economic fortress that can stand up to anyone. We'll cut red tape in the federal government by 25%, so that our small businesses spend more time hiring workers and serving customers and less time filling out paperwork for politicians and bureaucrats. And we want those small businesses to be able to reinvest and bring home their investment dollars to this country. And that is why I have announced the Canada First Reinvestment Tax Cut. Zero capital gains tax when you reinvest the money here in Canada. Thank you. We have a very energetic young man over there jumping up and down. Who's this guy over here? What's your name? Emerson. How old is Emerson? 9 years old. He's already active in politics. And why did you decide to come out today, Emerson? What's that? Oh, that's very nice. I'm here for you, Emerson, so I guess we came for the same reason. Look at these incredible kids, eh? Isn't it amazing to see our young people out at these events? Thank you, Emerson. Give it up for Emerson, a great Canadian patriot. Emerson deserves to live in a safe neighborhood. He deserves to be able to go out and play street hockey with his friends without the risk that he will be harmed by the growing crime wave that Liberals have unleashed over the last decade. Liberal law C-75 requires judges release even the most violent repeat offenders, and I'm quoting from the law, at the earliest possible time, under the least stringent conditions. And so the same offenders are often released hundreds of times. I'll give you an example. In Vancouver, they had to arrest the same 40 offenders 6,000 times. That means each one of them was arrested 150 times in a year. That's once every 2 days, all year long. There's one criminal in Penticton, BC. His name is Levi. The police tell me, you'll get a kick out of this, Hugh, when Levi is out of prison, the crime rate for the entire town of Penticton goes up. Because this one guy does that much.
There goes that mic again.
His name is Scott? Well, but... Do you know Scott? But the problem is that there's like millions of Scots, and now everyone's going to be looking at them strangely. Oh my God, we've got all the Scots of the world in trouble now. Listen, for the record, most Scots are great guys, really nice guys. There's one guy who's not so nice. Who thinks that it's time that we put the bad Scott and the bad Levi behind bars and leave them there? Oh my goodness. So then there's C5. There's C5. You're a nice Scot. We've got a nice Scot over there. It's not him. It's not him, right? It's not him. Okay, it's a different Scot. So then there's C5. This is the house arrest law. Very simple law. You get to do your sentence at home, in your living room. So you're a career car thief. And you sit in your living room and you're watching Netflix or playing Grand Theft Auto while you serve your sentence. So you walk out the front door and reoffend all over again. And then there's the most outrageous law, liberal law of all, C-83, which allows Paul Bernardo out of a maximum penitentiary into a medium security penitentiary. My friends, as Prime Minister, and with the help of your great future Member of Parliament and former police chief, we will stop the crime for a change because we cannot afford the risk of a fourth Liberal term. I will repeal the catch and release C-75. We will repeal house arrest C-5. We will repeal the Paul Bernardo get out of jail free card C-83, and we will pass a new law that says that any repeat offender will be ineligible for bail, probation, parole, or house arrest. It will be jail, not bail. Jail, not bail. We will stop the crime for a change, because we can't risk a fourth liberal term of crime and chaos. And then there's the drugs. Do you have a drug problem in Issou? Everybody knows somebody. Everybody knows someone. Everybody knows somebody. It is a tragic story. I hear it everywhere I go. The other day I got a letter from a man who said that he told me the touching story of how he held his wife's hand when she gave birth to their baby boy. And then 25 years later, he held her hand again as she collapsed on the ground next to their doorway after a visit from a police officer reporting the news that their son had died of an overdose on the street. 50,000 Canadians have died of drug overdoses in the last decade, more than died fighting for Canada in World War II. We know that this is the result of a radical liberalization of drugs. The government has effectively stopped enforcing drug offenses. They got rid of mandatory jail time for the traffickers. Crack, heroin, cocaine, fentanyl possession are basically not even prosecuted anymore. Worse, the government has been giving out opioids, taxpayer-funded opioids. They call it harm reduction. In reality, it's harm production. Those hydromorphone pills get resold to children, who then climb up the addiction ladder to fentanyl. And the profits of all this tax-funded drug use end up paying for the most poisonous drugs of all. Finally, there's no treatment available. Those people desperate to get away from a life of drugs have nowhere to turn, and so they often give up hope altogether. My friends, it doesn't have to be this way. We have a hopeful plan for change. We're going to stop the murderers who are spreading the fentanyl on our streets. Anybody who's caught trafficking 40 milligrams or more will have a life sentence under a conservative government. Second, we will stop giving out taxpayer-funded opioids. Okay? We will end the madness. And instead, we will sue the pharmaceutical companies that caused the drug overdose crisis in the first place. And we will invest in treatment and recovery, detox, counseling, inpatient care, to get our loved ones off drugs and turn their lives around with hope and life and family. You know, these drug treatment centers, the ones that work, they have proven that they can do the job. I visited the most incredible places and heard the most amazing stories. I was at Harvest House in Atlantic Canada, where they take young men and women off the street, detox, counseling, group therapy, physical exercise, job training, housing. And I sat down with these men who were about a month and a half into their program. Many of them were still trembling with addiction, trying to fight off the temptation to go back. And most times when politicians go to places like that, they say, "I'm here to help you." I went with a different message. I said to all these young men, "I'm asking for your help. I need you. You're still alive for a reason. There is a reason that you are still here, and it is this. You are going to get better, and then you are going to go out into the street, and you're going to pick someone off the street, and you're going to tell them that you were there where they were, and that you have now turned your life around, and that that person is going to go pick up someone else, and we're going to keep doing that again and again and again until we end this drug crisis altogether." That's hope. That is change. We're going to fund 50,000 drug treatment placements for our young people right across this country, and we're only going to give the money to those organizations that have a track record of success. We will pay those organizations for keeping people off drugs, pay for results, not for bureaucracy. And then there's the guns. We know that the guns that are overtaking our streets are not Canadian guns by lawful licensed hunters and sport shooters. It's the smugglers. We're going to invest in 2,000 more CBSA officers. We'll scan the shipping containers and we'll put big watchtowers along the length of our borders to interrupt the smugglers and keep the illegal drugs, guns, stolen cars, and other paraphernalia from crossing illegally. And we are going to pay for all this by canceling the wasteful, multi-billion-dollar gun grab and respect our lawful licensed firearms owners. Hugh, I have a question for you. Is Grandpa Joe's hunting rifle what's shooting up our streets?
Absolutely not.
Do you think that it's a waste of money to go after people who've gone out and got a possession and acquisition license?
Legal guns are not the issue, right? We are, and I was talking to right there, that young lady right there. She talked about we need to protect hunters' rights. It's not illegal guns.
Agreed. The police know it. Just today, the Toronto police were saying the phony liberal gun bans are not a solution. In fact, it's just Hollywood-style performative politics. Going after the lawful people who get licenses is actually not only not helping, it's wasting police resources because it misses the target. And so, be very clear, let me be very clear with you. If the Liberals get elected, they will ban your hunting rifle. There will be no more hunting rifles allowed in this country if the Liberals are back in. But we won't let them do that. We want to protect Canadians from criminals, not turkeys from hunters. But protecting Canadians means that we need to have a strong and powerful Canadian Armed Forces again. By cutting back office bureaucracy, wasteful back office procurement boondoggles, and reducing overseas wasteful foreign aid to dictators and terrorists, we will put the money back in Canada's military. We will buy 4 new massive Arctic icebreakers to take back our northern seas. Submarines, fighter jets, Poseidons that can look down and intercept foreign countries that are doing incursions into our waters and skies. We'll double the size of the first patrol of the Arctic Rangers. And we will have the first Arctic base in Canada since the Cold War, CFB Iqaluit. Our cadets. We're going to expand the cadets so that more and more of our young people can take advantage of mentorship from our soldiers and our rangers, learning riflery, survivalism, punctuality, cleanliness, and service to country, uniting them from coast to coast and giving them experiences they would not otherwise have. We want to reinstill the sense of common ground, common identity, common belief, and a common country. And that is also why we are going to uphold our history for a change. We're going to rebuild our beautiful statues. We're going to put Terry Fox, the soldiers, the famous 5 back in our passport. We will repair the damage the Liberals have done to our immigration system by ending the fraud in the international student, the temporary foreign worker, and in the refugee system. We will get our population under control. I will ensure by capping immigration that never again do we allow our population to outgrow the number of homes, jobs, and healthcare supports that are available. And while the Liberals continue to cling on to the Radical Century initiative, which seeks to increase our population to over 100 million people. We will reject the Century Initiative. We will stop the radical schemes. Those ideas might be great for the multinational corporations seeking to drive down wages for our workers, but they are not good for our country. We're going to put Canada first in immigration for a change. And that includes giving our brilliant immigrants who are already here the chance to make maximum contribution. The 20,000 immigrant doctors, 32,000 immigrant nurses should be allowed to take a test, prove they are qualified, get working, reducing wait times in our hospital system with a blue seal for a change. So who's ready to take back control of our future in this country, my friends, for a change? Who's ready for a paycheck that buys you a good life for a change? Who wants hope for a change? Then here's my question. Who's actually going to turn out and vote for a change? Vote for a change. You need to go and vote now. You can vote as early as tomorrow. Get your friends out. Tell them that now is the time. We are going to be a nation that harvests its resources, unites its people, protects its borders, honors its history, cares for its veterans, protects its vulnerable, and raises its flag. We are not a nation of tax collectors and toll masters, of gatekeepers and grandees, of bureaucrats and busybodies. No, we are a nation of explorers and entrepreneurs, of artists and adventurers, of workers and warriors, of pioneers and patriots. What unites us is the Canadian promise that anyone from anywhere can achieve anything, that hard work gets you a great life in a beautiful, affordable house on a safe street protected by brave troops under a proud flag. Canada first for a change. Let's bring it home!
Okay, there you go. Big crowd. I'm going to pull the audio down because if that music comes back, we'll probably get hit with a copyright strike. So Poilievre and Sault Ste. Marie. Carney was out in BC today, campaigning out there. So 2 campaigns on different sides of the country. All right, let's pull that off. So, what do you guys think? Just looking in the chat. Yeah, just looking in the. What are the comments looking like aside from the fighting in the chat tonight? Oh man. Yeah. Yeah, people commenting on the size of the crowd. It is very big. Not as big as last night. Hard to tell because we don't have a full wide shot here. Maybe we'll get one. As well, no, the feed is completely gone now, so I won't be able to see. But it's pretty much standing room only there again tonight. But yeah, the one last night, that was a barn burner speech by Stephen Harper as he introduced Poilievre last night, endorsed him, of course. I find it funny, though, you know, politics is such a strange game. It's a blood sport, as I say. The Harper came up and he said that Mark Carney was trying to claim credit for navigating or guiding Canada through the financial crisis of 2008, and then pointed out that it was actually him, Harper, who was at the helm of the country at that time, and said that there were two people in the race to become prime minister, both of whom had worked for him in the past. But you know, it's again, it's a funny thing. There's irony in this because while but before all of that, if you go back, people were criticizing Carney, saying that he was responsible really for the financial destruction of Canada in 2008. Although the Liberals are saying that he's the one who was there to guide Canada out of the financial crisis, the Conservatives were accusing Carney of destroying the economy. Now Harper is standing up there trying to claim credit for whatever happened in 2008, saying that he's the one who guided the country out of the financial crisis. But I'm not sure if the people, you see, which is it? Was the economy destroyed or was it saved? It depends on who you think was actually at the helm, I guess. And if the economy crashed in 2008 and Canada crashed along with the United States at that time, is that because of what the government in Canada did or didn't do leading up to the crash of 2008? Or was it because of the actions of government afterward that got... Which way do you want to spin it? Such is politics. It all depends on your perspective, I guess, and what reality you choose to believe. I just think it's funny. If you think back, though, 2008, what was that? That was largely a real estate bubble popping in the United States, and that just sent off shockwaves through the economy. It resonated far and wide internationally. Canada caught the flu when the U.S. caught its cold, and actually the U.S. was in pretty dire straits at that time too. And yeah, Canada did come out, I think, overall a bit better than other countries at that time. But I can tell you, having lived through that, nothing has been the same since then. That was really one of the milestone moments that I think marked our transition into this new, strange, new normal. Yeah, that was a pivotal moment in history. That economic crash. Nothing has been the same since. Let's take a little break. We'll come back, and on the other side, we'll start digging into today's top news stories.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So there's just no getting away from it. We have to come back, of course, and start talking about what's going on with the tariffs, the tariff war. It's international, and the stock market is still in a state of, I would say, disruption, maybe even chaos. U.S. stocks closed lower today, marking a major reversal from that rally that sent the S&P 500 and NASDAQ up about 4% earlier today. But then everybody got worried because Trump just ramped up his rhetoric against China. Now we're looking at 104% tariffs on China. As a result of all that, the worry surrounding the Trump tariffs the markets went and plunged again. Down they went again. The S&P fell 1.5%, putting the index on the brink of a bear market. On the brink, it isn't a bear market. It's a roller coaster ride over there right now. And I know some people have been looking at this as an opportunity, which is sort of right think that when it comes to the stock market, when things crash, you buy the dip. When it declines, you buy the dip and then you ride it back up. Buy low, sell high. But in this case, with these tariffs, this is unprecedented economic implementation of it's just tariff. This whole thing with the tariffs, nobody's done this. Not like this. And that's why I don't think that conventional thinking when it comes to the stock market this time around is really necessarily going to work. I think you have to start to think really more in terms of a hybrid or a slightly different variation on what happened in 1929 and the stock market crash that led up to the Great Depression. It's that serious. Countries all around the world reeling from this. Every country under tariff attack from Donald J. Trump. I'm sorry, Mama Bear. It's true. You can't escape it. And as much as some people are just trying to blame everything on our government, regardless of whatever political stripe might be in office at the time now or in the past or whatever, it's Donald J. Trump. He's not just doing it here, he's doing it all around the world. And it's going to get worse. It is getting worse. It got worse today. And there are certain motives, I think, behind all of this, not all of which are completely apparent, but he has his motives. And the more I look and watch and analyze, I'm beginning to get a clearer picture because these things always become clearer over time. Before I get into all of that, let's head off here to, I think I have, do I have it? I believe I do. The White House today? Caroline Leavitt? I did have it. Maybe I lost it. Well, that's okay. Then let's pivot over here for a moment. This is related. I'll run this first. This is Trump today participating in a Unleashing American Energy executive order signing event. Of course, he says he doesn't need Canadian energy at all. What he's doing here is pivoting back to carbon-based energy. Here's the way it went down just a short time ago in Washington.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you very much, Tony. Appreciate it. Every day under the Trump administration, we will continue to lower costs for American families, create jobs for American workers, and very importantly, unlock unlimited amounts of affordable American energy, including, as I said, and I'll say for the last time, beautiful, clean coal. Our country is blessed. Our country is blessed with the most abundant natural resources on earth, as nobody has what we have. And we're going to use it, too. We're going to use it in a very responsible way. Together, we're going to tap that magnificent potential to give our people the glorious future that they deserve, better than they've ever had in the past. I mean, they had a good future, a little, if you look 20 years ago, they thought they had a good future, and it was ripped away from them, torn away from them with nonsense. And we're not going to let that happen. This is going to be a glorious future for them. And I want to thank everybody for being here. And I want to thank you and you and you and that whole group and our senators, by the way, and our great congressmen and women for being here in such a large number, because you've been helping us make these decisions. These are big decisions, and this is a really big one. And this is one that's going to be, I think we're going to look back and with great pride at what we've done today, not just in putting people to work, but at really reawakening our country. And thank you very much, and thank you all for being here. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Come on up.
Mr. President,
Yes, who's first one?
we have 4 items prepared for your signature this afternoon, sir. The first of these executive orders it may be one of the most significant executive orders of your administration thus far. This directs all departments and agencies of the federal government to end all discriminatory policies against the coal industry. This ends the leasing moratorium that prevents new coal projects on federal land, and it's going to accelerate all permitting and funding for new coal projects to allow the coal industry to flourish under your leadership, sir.
That's great. Thank you. Okay.
Sir, there are currently dozens of coal plants in America that are in imminent danger of being forced to close based on unscientific and unrealistic policies enacted by the Biden administration. What we're going to do is essentially impose a moratorium on those policies taking effect to protect coal plants that are currently operating, to ensure that they're able to continue producing power and continue providing jobs to Americans in the coal industry.
Great. Thank you very much.
Oh, the scratchity scratch of that Sharpie.
Sir, you've made grid reliability and security a key focus of this administration. This executive order is going to promote grid security and reliability by ensuring in part that our grid policies are focused on secure and effective energy production and energy transmission, as opposed to woke policies that discriminate against secure sources of power like coal and other fossil fuels. Lastly, sir, one of the biggest problems we have in this space is Democrat states, radical leftist states, enacting policies and enacting an agenda that discriminates against coal, against secure sources of energy. Many of these policies are unconstitutional and illegal, and with this executive order, you're going to be instructing your Department of Justice to vigorously pursue and investigate these state policies that we believe are illegal or unconstitutional.
Good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Great job. He went to Harvard when Harvard was good. It was a while ago.
Okay, so big shift back to carbon-based energy, coal, oil. We knew that was going to happen, and there it is. And so, you see that, John, out in Alberta? That's my Steve McGarrett flip on my hair. He was upset with me the other day because he said I cut my hair too short. If you're focused on the way I cut my hair, you're not focused on the right thing. I'd rather you focus on what we're talking about, but there it is, just for you, John. my Steve McGarrett Hawaii 5-0 hair. It's growing back. The Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt today coming back to the tariffs thing, but before she did that, she she also addressed the deportation issue and sent a clear message to the Tren de Aragua terrorists. Here she is.
Our message to the monster Tren de Aragua and MS-13 terrorists still hiding illegally inside our country is clear. Deport yourself now, or you will be locked up and sent back to your home country. On another matter, the historic Liberation Day announcement last week by President Trump made it very clear that the era of American economic surrender is over. President Trump is no longer going to allow American workers and companies to be ripped off at the hands of foolish trade practices that shipped away millions of high-paying jobs and hollowed out communities across the country. It's America first, all the way. And despite fear-mongering by the media, the world is clearly responding to President Trump's approach. Just yesterday, President Trump held a bilateral meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu here at the White House. The Prime Minister pledged to immediately eliminate America's trade deficit with Israel and remove their trade barriers. Israel's proactive approach should serve as a model for the rest of the world. Also yesterday, the President spoke with Japan's Prime Minister, who wants to negotiate as well. The President also spoke to the acting President of South Korea this morning. He has tasked Secretary Bessent and U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer to lead these talks. In total, since the Liberation Day announcement, nearly 70 countries have already reached out to the President to begin a negotiation. Countries are falling over themselves to reform their unfair trade practices and free open their markets to our country. Why? Because these countries greatly respect President Trump in the sheer power of the American market. These countries realize they've gotten filthy rich over the past few decades by imposing substantial tariffs on American-made products and ridiculous non-monetary barriers to block out American industry. The jig is up. Past American presidents sat by and let this happen, but President Trump stood up for our country, and he is saying no more. The president's message has been simple and consistent from the beginning. To countries around the world, bring us your best offers, and he will listen. Deals will only be made if they benefit American workers and address our nation's crippling trade deficits. America does not need other countries as much as other countries need us, and President Trump knows this. He's going to use the leverage of our markets and our country to the advantage of the people he was sworn in to represent. On the other hand, countries like China, who have chosen to retaliate and try to double down on their mistreatment of American workers, are making a mistake. President Trump has a spine of steel, and he will not break, and America will not break under his leadership. He is guided by a firm belief that America must be able to produce essential goods for our own people and export them to the rest of the world. A strong America cannot be solely dependent on foreign countries for our food, medicines, and critical minerals. And America must always maintain a robust defense supply chain. Reprioritizing and strengthening our manufacturing industry are essential national and economic security issues of the utmost importance to President Trump. By focusing on supercharging the onshoring of American manufacturing, the president is already delivering on his promise to usher in an economic golden age for our country. Just look at Friday's jobs report, which smashed expectations for the second straight month. The American economy added 228,000 jobs, nearly 100,000 more jobs than economists predicted, and the fourth highest month for private payroll growth in the past 2 years. There was also a sharp increase in transportation, construction, and warehousing employment. And in just 11 weeks, President Trump has secured more than $1.5 trillion in private sector investment. This is $500 billion more than Joe Biden secured in his entire term. This record-breaking private sector investment will create roughly 350,000 American jobs and counting. If you add up all of the investment pledges from foreign governments, President Trump has secured an incredible $5 trillion in total investments already. In the months ahead, President Trump's pro-growth economic agenda will be fully realized. The largest deregulatory effort in American history is underway. Unnecessary, burdensome, costly red tape is being eliminated by this entire federal government every day. driving down costs and massively boosting small businesses. So far, President Trump's deregulation effort has already saved Americans more than $180 billion, equivalent to $2,100 per family of 4. The president's drill baby drill energy agenda, which he will discuss later this evening in the East Room, is capitalizing on the abundance of natural resources under our feet to generate more affordable electricity, cheap gas, and quality new jobs. All of this will combine to end the Biden-imposed cost of living crisis that's absolutely crushed American families. Under President Trump, the American energy industry will lead the globe over the next century, delivering lower prices and significantly strengthening our country's economic position. At the president's direction, Republicans in Congress are working quickly to pass one big, beautiful bill, which will also include the largest tax cut in American history. As President Trump has said, the House must pass this budget resolution quickly. Here in our new media seat today, we have Jasmine Wright, the White House reporter for Notice. Notice is a nonprofit and nonpartisan news site which launched in early 2024. They've gained millions of readers across the country since. The newsroom's goal is both to inform readers and train the next generation of politics and policy journalists. They also partner with state newsrooms and to give local communities more knowledge of what their representatives are doing in Washington, D.C. With that, please kick us off, Jasmine.
Okay. Just a note, since she's introducing their newest addition to the press corps there, Associated Press. Excuse me, I had to cough. Has been a judge has ruled that Associated Press has to get their press credentials back, their press pass to the White House. Caroline Leavitt banned them because this is Associated Press, and a newswire service, largely independent, and banned because they would not use the Gulf of America name. They're still using Gulf of Mexico, so they got banned. Well, court ruled otherwise. That's well, maybe we'll have more on that another night. But to come back to what she was just talking about with regard to these tariffs and jobs, this is sort of an editorial, but it's also some analysis, I think is maybe more accurate. This thing with the tariffs and bringing the jobs back by bringing manufacturing back, this is maybe an empty, hollow promise. Everything has, as I said, began to change in 2008. Technology continues to change everything, and this is really why. This is a trade show for automation, and I'm just going to run a little bit of this footage here tonight to show you where I'm going with this. And then I'm going to have the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, back me up on this, actually, inadvertently. Okay, look at this stuff here. Now, we all know that we have factories already operating with robots like this. And the robots are becoming more and more and more sophisticated. Automation really began with the evolution of the assembly line. Henry Ford, of course, taking the assembly line to whole new levels. I mean, look, even menial tasks like this, just moving cases of soda. And I've been to trade shows like this, that these robots are becoming more and more sophisticated. Now you add in artificial intelligence, and you are getting very close to replacing almost every human. Now, there's a factory not far from where I live that manufacture airbags.
Does this look centered? Let me see, maybe.
I've been in that factory, and when you walk through there, as production is ongoing, there's almost nobody in the place. It's like a ghost factory. massive machines running all on their own. There are only a couple of people in the whole place, and they just make sure the machines are reloaded with fabric and that the machinery keeps on running. Now, of course, you need some skilled labor to maintain the machinery, make sure the computers are functioning properly. You need some people, obviously, in the office to facilitate ordering and accept deliveries, maybe sign things. But literally, you walk through this giant factory and you can walk from one end to the other and not see a single person, not a single human. You have to go downstairs into an office. That was my experience in there. And I haven't been in there in 12 years. That was 12 years ago. And the technology keeps on getting better and better and better, or at least more sophisticated. I don't know if better is the right word, because I'm not sure if technology always gets us to a better place. I'm not sure the internet really has taken us to a better place. It's screwing with people's minds. I know that. Here is, can I show you this? Yeah, let me just mute the audio on this. I mean, look, I'm sure you've seen this stuff. I'm probably not showing you anything you haven't seen somewhere already before. But here's what I'm talking about. Look, these robots here, these are humanoid style robots. And they're becoming more and more and more sophisticated all the time. Their dexterity improves. And again, you couple this with AI. And of course, Elon Musk is working on this kind of technology. And it's transforming not just production, but society itself. Now, let me find this clip with Howard Lutnick, because it's very telling. Very, very telling. Where'd you go there, Howard? I do apologize. I have so many tabs open here. I prepared for so much tonight. Here it is here. This was Howard Lutnick days ago on Face the Nation. Let me bring it up and listen to what the anchor says to him and how this conversation goes. He becomes pretty uncomfortable with this. The whole idea here behind these tariffs is to bring manufacturing back so that these companies can get around the tariffs. They're supposed to build new factories or expand existing facilities and hire more people. That's why people are supposed to be excited about this. Repatriate those manufacturing jobs. But it might not work out quite that way, especially when you listen to this. Listen carefully.
He announced it, and he wasn't kidding. The tariffs are coming. Of course they are.
Okay. Is the administration considering any kind of offset, any kind of subsidy? You mentioned the first administration, there was some bailout to farmers to help them deal with the pain from Chinese retaliation. Are you looking at that now?
Not that I have not participated in any meetings with respect to that. The country is focused on, you realize trillions of dollars of factories are going to be built in America. That's huge GDP. The factories being built in America are huge.
That takes
GDP.
years, and you've said that robots are going to fill those jobs.
Robots.
So those aren't union
No, it's really automated
jobs.
It's automated factories, but the key is who's going to build the factories, who's going to operate the factories, who's going to make them work. Great American workers. You know, we are going to replace
on other
the
networks,
armies of millions of people. Well, remember, the army of millions and millions of human beings screwing in little screws to make iPhones. That kind of thing is going to come to America. It's going to be automated, and great Americans, the trade craft of America, is going to fix them, is going to work on them. They're going to be mechanics. There's going to be HVAC specialists. There's going to be electricians. The trade craft of America are high school educated Americans. The core to our workforce is going to have the greatest resurgence of jobs in the history of America to work on these high-tech factories, which are all coming to America. That's what's going to build. Are you concerned?
Not necessarily. Even those trades jobs could soon be replaced by humanoid robots, because their hands will be able to, with opposable thumbs, will be able to do a lot of those tasks. Even wiring a house, installing plumbing. and probably be able to do it more efficiently, faster, with fewer mistakes, if any, to a standard, and with artificial intelligence implanted in their noggins, they'll be able to solve problems and come up with creative solutions on the fly. So even building the factories may soon become automated. And I'm not talking like decades. I'm talking years. There's a meme going around right now, a video meme. And I think this is possibly, if these tariffs aren't being used to bring manufacturing back for this reason, if Trump isn't thinking like this, he should be. In fact, our leaders here should be thinking like this as well. And nobody's talking about this. Nobody. Not in the open. Look, I saw this. This is really what rekindled my attention on this. There's a video meme going around. This isn't the video, but you may recognize it. And if you see this picture, eventually you'll stumble across it because it's going viral. This is a still from it. Just as well I don't run it because it may be copyrighted stuff too. But it's just this shot of a guy working in like a sweatshop type operation, sewing together a garment. The textile industry, which is to say the clothing industry, basically left the United States and Canada decades ago because it was low-skilled work, low-value work. Today, our T-shirts, our clothing mainly comes from countries like Cambodia, Bangladesh, Vietnam, Sri Lanka, Mexico. Countries where wages are low. Haiti, where they literally pay. U.S. companies largely own the production facilities there, and they literally pay the workers in Haiti about $1 a day. And they are working in factories to produce like T-shirts, which then are sold here at a much higher markup, like 10 times the cost, or probably 100 times markup. I don't know what the ultimate true production cost per unit is, but it's very low because of the low-skilled, low-paid labor there. It's very labor-intensive work, right? Well, a lot of it is automated too, but sewing machines, that's nothing in terms of automation and mechanization. That's old school. That's all out the window. Full automation is what's on the table. Factories where you won't see anybody. The point is, even those low-skilled, low-paying, low-wage jobs are becoming obsolete. Those jobs were exported by companies to low-wage countries and low-regulation countries as well, where safety standards, environmental standards, lower, if not even, but possibly even non-existent in a lot of these countries. But with robots, full automation, and AI, all of that becomes irrelevant, except that it's extremely relevant because the person or the company that controls the means of production in the future will control everything. They'll own everything and be very, very happy. The problem for a government is that if all the production is, say, offshore, you don't have any GDP. You have no production happening at all. And if those companies, those factories are, say, nationalized, taken over by the countries in charge, even foreign investors may not be able to secure their investments. The point being, countries that control the means of production will control the future because they'll control the automation. You control the automation, you control the robots, you control the factories with little or no labor at all. and you are the one in control, period. You're making human beings obsolete. It really struck home with me when I saw that. So what's Trump doing? He's erecting tariffs to bring the factories back, a rekindling of production, manufacturing, but not using labor, not using Americans, not using people, not creating jobs. Yes, there will be some higher skilled jobs for people in the trades, for people who are computer literate, but even that stuff, a lot of that will be replaced. A lot of those jobs will be replaced by artificial intelligence. It'll be self-sustaining. So the key to the future is to own the means of production by owning your own robots. Even on a personal level, and Elon Musk has talked about this, people will be able to buy their own personal robot assistants. And if you have a personal robot assistant, you could send your robot to work for you. You own the robot, send it down the road, and it can paint somebody's fence and pick up the wage for the day. Build a deck. Poilievre was talking to somebody there in the audience. What does he do? Oh, he builds a deck. He builds decks for a living. Well, you don't have to build the deck anymore. You can just send your personal robot assistant. And it looks like in the very near future, you'll be able to buy a Tesla produced or whatever. What is it? Optimus, I think is his company's name. You'll be able to get yourself a personal robot assistant for about $100,000. Good investment. Basically, a year's wages for skilled labor, high skilled labor. Send your robot off to work while you sit and watch reruns of Gilligan's Island and eat your Cheetos in front of the TV. So too does it go for governments. Bring those factories back now, before AI, before full automation takes a full grasp of the economy. It's not far-fetched at all. It's an important way to look at this, because if you don't have those factories on your soil, you can't tax them. You can't tax the production. As a government, you need those factories on your soil in your geographic jurisdiction so that you can then tax the production and get the money from the owner of the automated systems, the automated factory, the owners of the robots. Tax the production tax. People have been looking at this for quite some time. When you think about it, this is why they need to bring those factories back. If they don't, as more and more people become unemployed and everything becomes displaced because of automation and AI, more and more people out of work, you're going to have the masses demanding social welfare. Unless you can, and I'm a big believer that over time, these things smooth out, that people find other ways to be employed and other ways to realize gainful employment. But there's a race on right now. And this shift from low-skilled to high-skilled work, this whole scenario in my mind makes a lot of sense. Modern manufacturing isn't about masses of people doing repetitive tasks anymore. It's about maintaining complex systems. There was, in 2023, the McKinsey report on automation suggested that advanced manufacturing could increase demand for skills like robotics maintenance and data analysis and reduce the need for manual labor. Now, if Trump sees this trend, positioning the U.S. to host these facilities, it could be less about bringing back 1950s style factory towns and more about ensuring the U.S. owns the infrastructure of the AI-driven future. Taxing that productivity would be a way to capture the economic upside. Corporate taxes, property taxes, and even income taxes from those higher skilled workers could outweigh the benefits of chasing cheap labor abroad. And I'm sorry, the whole argument that these countries like Sri Lanka, Cambodia, Vietnam, that they've been ripping off the United States, it's stupid. People who are living in countries making $3,000 a year are not ripping off the United States. It's the other way around. We've all been ripping off, even here in Canada, we've been ripping off people in low-wage countries and not thinking twice about it when we go to Walmart and buy our T-shirts or our socks or our underwear or our shirts made in Bangladesh, put together by somebody who's making $1 a day. Certainly that's the way it is in Haiti. And do we feel guilty about it when we go through the checkout? Do I feel guilty about it when I'm wearing the shirt? I don't even think about it. Do you really honestly think about it? Well, I'm thinking about it right now. In the future, even those people won't be needed. At least not in Donald Trump's world. A world where you can buy citizenship to the United States for $5 million and get yourself a Donald Trump gold card, a pass to utopia. Economic disparity. In the future, it's not going to be just about, well, even now, it isn't just about how much money is out there. It's about how it is distributed, what is really, truly fair. And the question then becomes, how do you make sure that people have access and equal opportunity when the economy over time becomes increasingly truly capitalistic? And when I say capitalistic, I don't mean just capitalistic in terms of money, access to like cash money. I'm talking about access to the capital, the physical capital, the productive capital, the robots, the AI, the technology, the mechanized means of production. Once you have that, you're away to the races. How can somebody who doesn't have access to it at all in an environment like that ever even hope to get into the race with you or to compete on any level with you once you've got that? I don't know what the answer is, folks. Not right now, not as I sit here, but we have to explore these ideas in more detail as a society, because if we don't, we're going to have huge problems. We're going to have huge uprisings. We're going to have revolts worldwide over time. Because a lot of people will end up starving while other people, like say Elon Musk, become not just billionaires, but trillionaires. And that's already on the cusp. Boy, do I sound like a socialist tonight. I don't mean to. I do believe in free markets, but even in a free market, you need some rules, some guardrails, antitrust legislation, fair competition, so that everybody has a chance, at least a chance, so that if you do work hard, you can get ahead. Otherwise, it's just not a just society. Strangely, those are the issues that Mark Carney is really exploring in that book, Values. And that's also what Pierre Poilievre was talking about tonight. Remember, and I said it's interesting to hear a conservative talking about economic justice, talking about things that really appeal to blue-collar workers. It really is an election of ideas. We are involved in a third world war that is really, foundationally, at its core, a war of ideas. What will the future look like? It's political ideology. It's about fairness. It's about all of these social issues all wrapped up in the economy. I'll be right back.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, we're just going to shift our attention for a moment over to Ukraine and the ongoing war there with Russia. Except it's not just a war with Russia, at least it doesn't seem that way tonight, because it looks like the Ukrainians have captured some Chinese soldiers on the battlefield. This could become a complicating factor, to say the least, in this war. Zelensky tonight urging the United States to take a closer look at what's really happening on the ground in Ukraine. I think maybe J.D. Vance might do the country a service by looking beyond the videos that he indicated he watches. When he talked about this when they were browbeating Zelensky in the Oval Office. I watched these videos and you're wrong. No, I think maybe you better look a little beyond the videos and maybe take Zelensky up on the offer to go visit Ukraine and see what's happening on the ground, because this is apparently, and you know, J.D. Vance maybe want to take a trip over there to verify this, but this is the video that has been released of one of the Chinese soldiers captured.
走到地方，呜呜，嘣嘣嘣嘣嘣嘣嘣嘣嘣，然后我的 commander，嘣。然后就，哗，然后就啊，然后我
They haven't captured it a lot. I guess they captured, what, 2 or 3 of these Chinese soldiers? But we're told they have their documents to prove that this is, a real thing, and even credit cards to identify these guys. And Zelensky tonight, again, just urging the U.S. to take a closer look. He says may not be present, but it seems to me that we have something to talk to the Americans, and we believe. I'm going to turn this down a little bit because he's so loud. There we go. And we believe, he says, they will change their position, especially after today's news. We took Chinese soldiers prisoner on the territory of Ukraine, and Ukrainians entered the battle in the Donetsk region, Taraivka and Belogorod. I can't pronounce these words because I just don't have the tongue to wrap around the accent. Belogorivka, and out of 6 Chinese soldiers, 2 are in captivity. And accordingly, there are documents. They have passports. They even have credit cards. They are Chinese citizens. I think this is a very important element. I think the United States of America needs to pay more attention to what is happening today. So, yeah, it is a serious thing because it brings the Chinese into the conflict, potentially. And we have a diplomatic crisis brewing there, maybe. In addition to that, you have to think back to the North Korean soldiers. The Russians denied and denied and denied that North Korean soldiers were even there. They said it wasn't true, that it was all propaganda. They denied it for weeks and even months. Even after North Korean soldiers were captured, the Russians continued to say it wasn't true, that they weren't present, that they weren't there. And yet now, finally, we're getting some acknowledgement of that, and it is verified, and indeed North Korean soldiers have been involved, especially in the Kursk area. So they have been directly engaged in the battle. And while at first we were told by the Ukrainians that the North Korean soldiers were not well trained and couldn't really fight, over time they have learned what fighting in this style of war is all about, and we are now seeing that they have become a formidable element in their own right on a limited scale, more effective than they were in the beginning, although many of them have been killed unfortunately. Too much death on all sides, and it would be very nice if the war could come to an end. But as we're seeing, this is not coming to an end. It seems to be escalating, even under the watch of Donald Trump, who claimed he could stop the war in 24 hours, and we're way past that. And it's becoming painfully obvious that the ceasefire, the partial ceasefire that was agreed to has simply been broken. It hasn't held at all. It never really even took effect. It was all window dressing, fake, in essence, if you want to call it that. And I think that might not even be a far-fetched way to look at it. There has never been even a partial ceasefire. That is the truth. Also, we're hearing tonight, though, that if you're a big fan of Doge, you'd probably be very happy to hear that there's been some big discovery. But the White House today refused to tell us exactly what that discovery is, only that it's huge. So maybe we'll learn more about that tomorrow. Uncovering some sort of corruption, perhaps. I don't know. They're just not revealing the details right now. Caroline Leavitt did address that in the news conference today. Well, maybe I'll show it. Maybe I'll run it. Okay, let's run the clip. Let's do that. Just so that you understand what I'm talking about and I give you the full context with what she said. Because I don't know what's coming. They must have something of substance or they wouldn't be giving it this treatment. Oh, for crying out loud, I lost the clip. I hate it when I do that. Hang on. I'll bring it back. All it takes is just a little click to the one side and the tab goes down. Here we go. Let's try it one more time. I have to do about 5 clicks to get one thing up on the screen. Here we go. Caroline Leavitt and what's coming from Doge.
On Thursday, told us that there was an incredible discovery that the Doge team had made. He called it horrible and incredible. Can you reveal that yet? Give us details on what it was about?
There has been a discovery. I hate to leave you hanging on a cliff, but I don't want to get ahead of the president on that. But I can confirm there has been a discovery. It's just not quite yet ready for release.
Gonna be a surprise. Don't know. Don't know. Mark Carney today also being asked, questioned, grilled on this whole question about Chinese influence, interference even in the election. We saw a report that the Chinese have been engaging in information warfare and have maybe of sorts and been trying to influence the election by boosting social media posts about Mark Carney, favoring him as a candidate, potentially. Those are the reports. He was asked about it today. This was his response.
From my understanding, some of the campaign was pushing positive narratives about you. Why do you think that China, the PRC, seems to like you? Why are they praising you?
I have absolutely no idea, and I have absolutely no idea, and I think, well, I'll leave it at that.
From my understanding,
Good answer. Not. Fumbling, stumbling. I'll say this, I don't think he's a really polished politician. Carney, definitely a bright economist in his own vein, in his own lane. Smart guy, educated, Ivy League, no question. But he's not a seasoned politician. This is new territory for him. I don't know that it serves the party well, to bring somebody in who seems to be stumbling just a little bit like that. He'll maybe adapt because he is so polished and so intelligent and well educated. So he'll maybe grow into the job, but he's not there yet. This is baptism by fire, I'll tell you that. Going straight into an election campaign, going straight into politics, straight in as the leader of the party and running to be prime minister, and then being attacked relentlessly the way that he is. That's a tough gig, man. So no wonder he's fumbling and stumbling a little bit. I think even a seasoned politician has a hard time. Poilievre, a career politician. That's really about the only job he's really had from the very beginning. Harper laid out his career, Poilievre's career path in his speech last night as he introduced him. And I think that's why he's just way more comfortable being in the spotlight, up on stage, speaking, taking questions. A lot of experience in the House of Commons question period. He's just smooth, and he's a quick wit. Carney's still growing into it. And, a lot of people, it's very unusual to see a central banker, the governor of a central bank, get into politics. And that's because a central banker, his job is to remain it is to remain nonpartisan, impartial, and to simply act in the best interests of the bank and the country when in that position, in that role. And a lot of people don't like the idea of a central banker or the governor of the Bank of Canada or the Bank of England going into politics, because it raises these questions about ethics. It raises instantly questions about what's proper or improper. Because as the Bank of Canada governor or the Bank of England governor, it's that person's job to remain impartial and to not act out of self-interest. You have to. That's why they're arm's length from the prime minister and the government. You act without direct influence from the prime minister or the government when it comes to deciding how much money to print, what fiscal policy to enact in terms of interest rates. You may get requests, or you've got budgets that come in, but at the end of the day, there are macroeconomic policy decisions that are made in terms of money supply and interest rates and how the bank is managed. Those are made independent of the government of the day, of any government. But if you're the governor of the bank and then you get into politics afterward, some people then question, and it's a legitimate maybe concern to say, well, while you were the governor of the Bank of Canada, were you adopting policies or doing things to create economic conditions that would be conducive to that would be favorable to you once you got into the political arena, in this case as the leader of the party and running for prime minister? Did you do things to make your opponents look bad or to make the party you're going into look good? And you see, that's why as the governor of the Bank of Canada, he was sort of working for Stephen Harper back in 2008. He was the Bank of Canada governor at the time. But a lot of people are like, I don't know if it's the right thing for somebody in those positions to then go into politics afterward. It sets an uncomfortable precedent, but it doesn't mean that it's illegal. It doesn't mean that he can't do it. He is. I also have seen just in the past 24 hours, people arguing or saying claims, online influencers saying that Mark Carney isn't even allowed to be in the position that he is in because he took on that advisory role with the Trudeau government, advising Trudeau and his cabinet and the government on economic issues, sort of behind the scenes. After he left, and at the time he was still with Brookfield. But those people making those claims, they're just straight up wrong. He was allowed to take that position, and he is allowed to do what he's doing now. because while you see the way the regulations are written, if you have a paid position as a bureaucrat, you're not allowed to then to run for political office and be the leader of a party or to become a member of parliament. You can't be a bureaucrat and a member of parliament at the same time. You can't be a bureaucrat or have even a contract position with in an advisory role for the government and be a politician and sit as an elected representative. You can't do both. But he didn't do that. He left his gig as the Bank of Canada governor, Bank of England governor actually, went to Brookfield, then as the CEO. It's just a contract position. And actually, there isn't even evidence that he was getting paid for his advisory role there. But it's not necessarily improper or unethical for any government to reach out and seek economic advice from economic experts, economists who may be working for other companies at the time, and bring them into the fold as in an advisory capacity. There's nothing illegal about it at all. Trump is doing it. Every president does it. Prime ministers, governments, they all do it. They need expert advice. So they hire people to fill some of those roles. They're not elected positions. But what Carney did is he resigned from those positions. He left the advisory role so that he could then run for the leadership of the party. So he went from one to the next, to the next, to the next, but didn't hold both at the same time. And the people telling you that it's illegal for him to now run or to be the prime minister or to hold elected office, it's just plain wrong. It's not true. Of course he can, because he's not in the other job. It was a job or a gig or a volunteer position. He no longer holds that. He's free to do this now. You may not like it. You might not think it's not even ethical or for whatever reason, but it's not illegal and he's fully within his rights to do it. And that's just the truth. You might not like it, but that's the way it is. Some people just can't handle the truth. Are people hammering on me in the chat? I don't know. Joe Top. Rick will soon be reporting on a complete commie Canada. You still put a good spin on it? Ha ha ha, LOL. I just don't like lies. But that's okay, dude. You go on over and you listen to those other people who lie their asses off for whatever reason. I don't know, because you don't need to. There's all kinds of dirt out there that you can sling if you want to sling dirt at people without having to lie. But it's dirty and it's nasty and it's scuzzy out there. And politics, like I say, is a blood sport. And there's lies coming back on the other side too, like against Pierre Poilievre. And this clip here addresses that. Or at least, well, it's like I've been sitting here defending Pierre Poilievre too. And I don't mean to defend these guys. I'm just trying to just lay out the facts for people. Like, Pierre Poilievre is a member of the World Economic Forum. I saw this thing going around, and it's pictures on the website, and I've been telling people for a couple of years, not true. I've seen the posts, and some of them are screenshots from a website that isn't really from the World Economic Forum. It's got the WEF logo on it. It's a graphic depiction. And yeah, he is listed on the website. Again, it popped back up mysteriously just within the last couple of weeks. But it's a reference to some work that he did or something, but he's never actually been a member of the World Economic Forum, at least not that I can verify or anybody else can verify, and he denies it. Asked about it again here in this exchange with this this lady, and I'm not sure what city this was in, But, well, I'll just show you how he has had to deal with this kind of smear campaign and character assassination on his end. And where is that coming from? I don't know. It could be coming from the Liberals. It could be coming from the PPC folks. It could be coming from foreign governments. I don't know. But all this, Pierre is part of the WEF, can't trust him. Well, Harper was. He's been to the WEF. He gave speeches there, and he's got a standing ovation last night. And here's Pierre and his wife addressing the whole issue with this lady.
Accusing you, but I have heard that you have shares in that company.
Can I answer that question?
Absolutely.
That was the mask company during the pandemic.
Can I hold your hand when I say
Absolutely.
that? I do not, darling. I really do not, and I am honest, and I promise you.
I hope to God that's true, because we want somebody to who we think. I hope you guys are who we think you are. And Pierre, the other question that I have for you that really concerns me is the picture of you and Bill Gates.
Right.
What was the certain, like, do you have affiliation with Bill Gates?
He came to Parliament Hill in 2014 or 15, and I shook his hand and had a picture with him.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
I've taken pictures with people too before that I wouldn't take a picture with today.
Right.
And the other thing that I would like to know is how you feel about the World Health Organization being able to have control over what goes on here in Canada. People who are not elected, who have no affiliation with us here in Canada, as well as the World Economic Forum. Because as a Canadian, I don't want them involved in our country.
Right on.
Right.
That's right. Right on.
So, nor do I. I'm against the World Economic Forum. I'm one of the only members of Parliament in the House of Commons, which you can watch with your own eyes.
I watched it. I saw that.
You saw that?
Thank you. Thank you.
There's very few people who have done that. I'm one of them. Unlike Maxime Bernier, I've never been to the Davos conference that the World Economic Forum puts on, and he'll have to explain why he went there and what he was doing there. But I did not go to that, and I would not go to it, nor will any of my ministers.
But there was a picture of you.
Where?
There was no picture. No, there's no picture. His name was on the website, and we do not know why. We asked him why to put the name there. The only answer we got is that they published an article that he had published. We have
that I'd
no
written elsewhere.
affiliation.
What about the Pfizer documents?
What Pfizer documents?
I don't know.
The Pfizer documents where they're saying all the adverse reactions they had to the vaccines before they gave us.
It's a tough gig these days being a politician, man. I don't care what party you're with. It's a tough gig. Let's take a break. It's a tough gig sitting in this chair some nights, too.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarmingly, some media outlets simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
In an ocean of lies a century deep, the truth awaits. Choose not the red pill. Choose not the blue pill. For both are an illusion. Discover the power of M. The power of individuality. We are Mavericks. We are the way to the light. Fear not the storm. Join our quest for truth. Truth will set you free. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Yeah. See, around here, I'm trying to practice journalism. I'm trying to provide balance, and while I do express my opinions on things at times, I try to make that clear. But I'm not here cheerleading, and I haven't endorsed any candidates. And it is tough sitting in the chair, I have to tell you. All you have to do is look at the chat tonight. It's tough for some people to be my friend too, apparently, because they get attacked just for talking to me. I work for you. And if you find value in it, that's great. If you don't, nobody's forcing you to watch. Some people seem to be afraid of me because I do sit here, I guess, and try to actually tell you the truth. I'm not here cheerleading, trying to manipulate you with propaganda or half-truths or even outright lies. And when I call out the lies, people get really upset. And I see tonight, I had a couple of people who were donating like $5 a month, and I just see another person canceled their payment. And I'll tell you, that's okay. There are, I think, 3 people, $5 a month. Now I have 2. If you hate me that much, you're welcome to leave. Nobody's keeping you here. I don't have 50,000 viewers on my YouTube channel or my X channel, and I don't have blonde hair. And I don't flirt with you. I'm just an old school journalist, an old dinosaur, trying to do the right things. I guess that's not in vogue these days. Hard to build a channel this way. It is discouraging. It's painful because it isn't, and I don't mean it on a personal level so much. I find it's just downright discouraging because it makes me fearful of the future. What will become of our country? What's becoming of people? I'm not going to lie, I need your help. I need your support. And if people don't like what I'm doing, I can go on and do other things with my life. If you don't want me here, I'll move on. If there isn't enough support for me to continue to do this, I won't have any other choice. I will be forced out. And there are people who are trying to force me out every night in this damn chat, attacking me, trying to shut the channel down, filing complaints. I'm tired of it. Frankly, I'm tired of the fighting that I see in there tonight. The attacks, the attack on somebody that apparently is my lapdog, not true. Dragon does not always agree with what I say. He's not my lapdog. You should leave him alone. You got a bone to pick with me, pick it with me. I'm going to put my number in the chat. You got a problem with me, you call me directly. I'll talk to you. There it is, right there. You call me after this broadcast. Give me a piece of your mind. If you're too damn cowardly to phone in during the broadcast, as many of you are these days, you're welcome to call me privately and lay into me. Tell me how wrong I am about things. I'll entertain your call. I'm not afraid, but I am discouraged. I'm worried about I've been here sitting in this chair because I'm worried about the country, worried about the future, worried about what's going to happen in the future for my kids who are growing up. They are growing up. But I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to take the money that I could be taking to sit here and lie to you every night like some other people. Take a little break, come back. One more thing on the other side of this.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom. Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, I'm back. So, yeah, I wrote a Substack. Wrote 2 Substack articles. Free. More free content. More free content for people. And I'm going to share this with you here tonight. Because it's all about Alberta and the separatist movement out there. Because I have a different perspective on this than a lot of other people. I want Alberta to stay in Canada. I believe in the country and I believe it's worth saving. So let me share my Substack article with you here on this front. And I'll put the link in the Rumble description here for you. Please consider subscribing. There's the link to this particular article, and there are others. There's another one that I wrote this morning, too. I was up at 3 a.m. writing this, as I sometimes do, work in the middle of the night. So, and this is about the call-in portion of the program last night. This is how it starts. I mean, last night, right here on Maverick News, the phone lines lit up with Canada's heartbeat. John called from Alberta, his voice carrying the weight of the oil patch. Sharon joined from Brandon, Manitoba, where the wind cuts sharp across the plains. Dragon roared in from Montreal. All Quebecois fire. Attacked by John, by the way, as usual, with his Alberta attitude. And I patched it all together right here from Ontario. Other nights, we've had the Maritimes, the Territories, the West Coast. Each caller a thread in a sprawling, stubborn tapestry, where 40 million people stretched over a vast, frozen land. Our community small and remote next to the American giant, Godzilla. Diversity doesn't unite us. It challenges us. I've said that many, many times on this program. Diversity is not our strength. It is our challenge. And for over 150 years, we've risen to that challenge with Alberta's wealth and what it gets back, showing why this nation still stands. Alberta's a lightning rod in the equalization debate. It pours billions into federal coffers, $21 billion more in taxes than it got back in 2022-2023 by some estimates, and sees none of that equalization cash return directly. And that stings, and it's why some Albertans dream of joining the U.S. as the 51st state or breaking free entirely as an independent nation. But here's the catch. Those billions aren't actually lost. They're offset by federal funds flowing back in ways that hit Albertans' pockets and lives every single day. More than that, they buy something bigger than a ledger line, stability, identity, and a Canada that keeps Alberta, Alberta. Separation's a trap. And the price could be their soul. So let's break this down. Alberta's equalization contribution isn't a black hole. It's a cycle. In 2024-2025, the province gets over $8.2 billion from the Canada Health Transfer and Canada Social Transfer. That's cash keeping hospitals open in Calgary, doctors in Peace River, schools running in Lethbridge. The Canada Pension Plan, funded by every working Albertan's contributions, pays out directly to retirees. In 2023, it dished out $63 billion nationwide, with Alberta's 4.4 million people claiming their share. Infrastructure? The Investing in Canada program has pumped billions into Alberta highways, Edmonton's LRT, and rural water systems since 2016. $1.3 billion for transit alone by 2023. Municipalities like Red Deer, where John hangs out, and Grand Prairie tap the Canada Community Building Fund, $2.4 billion nationwide in 2023-2024 for roads and bridges, dollars that started in federal taxes, including Alberta's. Then there's the extras. Agricultural supports like Agri-Stability delivered over $500 million to Alberta farmers in 2022-23, stabilizing incomes against drought or market dips, disaster funds, $16 million for 2023 wildfires flow from Ottawa. Even the new Canada Dental Care Plan puts federal cash in Albertans' mouths. Add it all up, and the net loss shrinks fast. Equalization's formula does need tweaking. It's a fair point, but the idea that Alberta gets nothing back doesn't hold water. Those billions cycle home, often straight to Albertans' lives. And just as a sidebar, not straight from the article, I can tell you that my personal experience here in Canada, especially as it relates to media, is such that I understood or began to understand the challenges that Canada faces because of its vastness. It's so huge geographically, and yet our population is small. And so to keep the country together and to preserve our unique identities that make up Canada as a mosaic, and to preserve our cultures within the nation, we've had policies in place here, in particular with regard to things like broadcasting, which I'm personally familiar with, to ensure that we preserve that through our institutions like media. Only because of regulations and non-tariff barriers, and even tariff barriers in some cases, have we been able to preserve what it is that makes us Canadian by enforcing promises of performance and regulations for broadcasting companies, for instance, to make sure that they provide local news coverage in remote locations. And in some cases, yes, even government money to do it through broadcasters like CBC. Who otherwise is really going to provide news coverage in a remote northern community in the territories where we have a population of 50 people or 500 or 1,000, or even here in my community of Chatham? It doesn't really pay a broadcasting company or journalists in general to do business here, to conduct their, to practice their craft in a small community like this. So regulations and protectionism to some degree have facilitated an environment where broadcasters are required to hire journalists in smaller communities to make sure that there is coverage there, local news, so that people have their identities preserved and that you have functioning democratic systems, even at the municipal level, because you have a functioning media. It's because of Canada's vastness and the challenges that provides, the challenges it creates, even providing doctors in remote locations, in remote communities. If you live in Blind River, Ontario, you need a doctor. You need to incentivize having a doctor move up there to live in that remote community instead of living in Toronto. So you need government programs and maybe even regulations to some degree to create the environment where a doctor will move to that place. That's part of what it means to be Canadian. So here's where the separatists miss it. It's not just dollars and cents. It's value, stability, and preservation of who we are. And that means you Albertans too. In just the same way that it applies to people in Quebec with their language concerns. Alberta's wealth helps poorer provinces. Sure it does. But that keeps Canada whole as a stable nation. It means less strain on Alberta's cities, a broader market for its oil and beef, a military guarding the north, $26.9 billion in 2023-2024, partly from Alberta's taxes. Yes, you contribute to that. That's sovereignty that Alberta couldn't buy alone. Alberta's sovereignty depends on Canadian sovereignty. The CBC, with its $1.4 billion federal lifeline, keeps local news alive and high level, not just Halifax. And while I'm not a huge fan of the kind of coverage sometimes that CBC provides, the reality is, who else is going to do it? If you're a for-profit, profit-driven broadcasting company, your incentive is to simply run U.S. programs in the Canadian market where you have the rights to the program and then spend as little as possible on anything related to news, because that's a money drain. And you're sure not going to sell many ads for coverage in the Northwest Territories. Certainly not enough in local advertising out of there, even national advertising, in order to facilitate coverage in those very remote locations. It costs a lot of money to fly somebody up there, or certainly to maintain a post up there, a news bureau in the north. That's the challenge that Canada faces. Heritage grants fund Alberta's museums and festivals. It's just a reality. And without that, a lot of that stuff just wouldn't survive. Think Calgary Stampede's tourism boost. These aren't line items, they're the glue of identity. And it's not just Alberta giving. Newfoundlanders with their outport grit, far north communities scraping by in the Arctic don't match Alberta's financial heft, but they're needed just as much. Their presence stakes Canada's claim to its vastness, securing sovereignty, unlocking resources like minerals and fisheries that fuel our wealth over time. And a lot of those resources still left to be tapped, guarded for the future by the people who live there. Quebec's cultural firewall, the territories, rugged endurance, they preserve Canada, and by extension, Alberta. There's more to a country than money. Albertans benefit from having people brave the far north's cold or Quebec's linguistic maze, because that's what keeps Godzilla, the U.S., from swallowing us and Alberta whole. The U.S. isn't a neighbor, it's a cultural and economic titan. It's true. But Canada's survived by carving a niche. Less brash, yes, more collective. But we're here. Federal programs blunt American assimilation. The United States, Godzilla, is a melting pot. Canada has been a mosaic. That's why Alberta culture is Alberta culture. That's why Quebec still has its language. Media subsidies fight U.S. news, bombardment in Canada, and you can see even in the United States that their melting pot ideology has failed to preserve what even in their case is in some instances the erosion of culture. 25% of their papers gone since 2004. Newspapers, journalism under fire. Now you're getting this new thing happening on social media, but I'm not sure it's actually healthy. Just go talk to people. There's something wrong. Trade deals like CUSMA or the USMCA, whatever you want to call it, protect Alberta's oil experts. Join the U.S. and Alberta's 4.4 million voices drown in California's 39 million. Alberta's a little tiny speck when it comes to population compared to the giant population that Godzilla represents. 4.4 million voices up against, like, even California's, like I said, 39 million. It's oil tangled in EPA rules, tougher than Ottawa's. Go independent, and it's a small fry beside a giant, with no Canadian military or tax base to sustain your heritage. That's if you're an independent. How are you going to defend yourself against Godzilla? And I don't mean like militarily, I'm talking just even culturally. Either way, the scaffolding of Alberta's identity, rodeo culture, indigenous roots, indigenous roots. Oh, you guys, you need to really pay attention here. Oil patch pride crumbles. A tax cut might sound sweet, enticing, right? But it won't materialize like they think. The real cost, their culture, their soul, potentially. Be careful of those people promising utopia with a tax cut. Not as simple as that. Diversity divides until we make it work. Tolerance forges the bonds. Federalism, equalization included, holds it together. The whole diversity is our strength line from Trudeau and the Liberals. That skips the hard truth. It's a challenge we've met for 150 years, surviving next to Godzilla with a small population and a brutal climate. It isn't that they get the diversity issue entirely wrong, those Liberals. It's that they've drifted away from the key elements that bind us together. Federalism and, I keep coming back to it over and over again, tolerance. Alberta, you need to become tolerant of Quebec, and Quebec needs to become tolerant of Alberta. Yet Canadians continue to get it right somehow, even as dysfunctional as it seems to be, and as dissatisfied as many of us are. And yet we continue to show the world that Canada is worth the investment. Last night's callers, John, Sharon, Dragon, you guys proved it. Didn't mean to. That you have distinct voices, each one of you. Remote places, one nation. Each of you unique. Alberta's billions aren't lost. They're invested in a Canada that endures, keeping all its pieces, provinces, territories, First Nations alive. Albertans should be wary of trading that for a mirage. Separation risks more than money. It risks who they are, you Albertans. We Canadians deserve to survive, not because we're diverse, but because we've turned diversity into something worth keeping. Diversity is not our strength. It is our challenge. But we're up for it. I hope you found value in that tonight. If you hate me, you've got my number. I'll try to be back tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern. I'll leave you with Cosmo tonight. Maybe that'll cheer me up. I'm going to go walk him. Catch you on the flip side.
I heard old Cosmo howling last night up on the hill where the moon shines so bright. He was singing a tune, lonesome dogs cry about freedom, running and touching the sky. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as a wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. Cosmo's got them paws that just itch to roam. He's chasing his dreams, he's far from home. With a heart full of love and a spirit so free, he's living his life wild and carefree. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as a wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. He's got the stars in his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard of a blur. Cosmo's on a journey, he's got no chains. He's running through fields, breaking all the lanes. Now the night's getting cold and the sky's turning gray, but Cosmo's still out there, he's miles away. He's not looking back, he's got his path to tread. With every step, he's leaving his path. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as a wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. So if you're feeling lost, just think of Cosmo's run. Remember his spirit, his freedom, his fun. And maybe one day, when you're feeling alone, you'll find your own freedom and let your spirit go. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as a wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. In his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard of a bird. A heart full of love and a spirit so free. He's living his life wild and carefree. He's got the stars in his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard a bird. Cosmo's on a journey, he's got no chains. He's running through fields, breaking all the lanes.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.